started. All right, ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. All right. So thanks everybody for joining us. This is going to be a very awesome webinar about how to keep everybody safe. This has been a hot topic for Lindley and Company over the past 18 months. We've ratcheted down a lot of our security systems because of cyber security issues and potential hacks. And happily, we can say that well, we always joke about whatever an email doesn't go out, it's Becky's fault, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's go here. Okay, so this is a lot of this information I'm going to share with you it is very surprising and also a little scary, but let me tell you what, you know me, I am not doom and gloom on this stuff. It's mostly education, it's all education. But when I saw that every 2 seconds, that's how often a person has something happen to their identity. They're a victim of identity theft, which is terrifying. And the other thing is the companies that we really know and trust. If you're one of these people, which is probably most likely, the past few years have given us really amazing record-breaking breaches. You see the big ones, the ones that are like wow factors, like LinkedIn. They exposed data for over 700 million people. Facebook, 530 million people. These folks were exposed to data breaches that, you know, the hackers found their phone numbers and full names and location and email addresses and lots more. The biggie was, man, 3 billion people from Yahoo. These are only some of the breaches that occurred in the last few years, but given those statistics, it's pretty likely that your data is out there. So what we're trying to do is not make you lose sleep at night, but help you figure out how to protect yourself, because we are in a world of dark forces and a lot of criminal networks that conspire every day and every night to steal our usernames and our passwords and our social security and open credit cards in our name and drain our bank accounts. Now, aren't you excited you signed up for this webinar? Oh my God. So let's talk about what we can do. Okay. So the challenge is, so there's this book written by a couple authors, and it was called Cybersecurity and Cyber Wars. And they contend that there is a cyber world war underway, which, you know, every night you probably watch the news and you hear of another breach. The biggest problem is what we face is what's called a cybersecurity knowledge gap. And so that's why we're talking today, because I worry about my clients. I'm emotionally attached to you guys. I love you guys. I know your families, and I love our community. And I worry for myself, our team, our families, you guys. And it is a very serious growing problem. Now, because that was awesome doom and gloom, I want you to tell you at the end of this webinar, there will be little rays of hope, okay? Most people don't realize how vulnerable they are or what they can do to maximize their security. So we're going to really touch on those parts. And I've got a tiny little screen here. Okay. So I'm really grateful that you're here. I know that everybody on this webinar knows who we are, but this will be replayed, so I'm going to introduce ourselves anyhow. Today we're going to talk about 1 hour to cybersecurity, savvy cybersecurity, say that 5 times fast. We're going to give you 10 threats that you face and how to fix them, how to attack them. I'm Kelly Olczak, managing partner for Lindley and Company. We manage the finances for a handful of families in the area. I'm really tickled to say that we're 100% woman-owned registered investment advisor located in the Bushnells Basin. What does registered investment advisor mean? We're fiduciaries. That means we have to do what's right for you, even if you're not a client, way before we worry about ourselves. I'm also a certified financial planner, and I've held that designation since 2009, which is kind of weird. It's been so long, but it went so fast. Joining me today, 2 of my very dearest and nearest, Chaz Miller, who is our operations manager, and my partner, Becky Gillette, who is our co-founder, and our dedicated chief compliance officer, which is a pretty big deal because firms our size, when you have 5, 6 people, typically hire out to folks to be a chief compliance officer. And this one topic, we joke internally, but it's all Becky's fault when an email won't go through because of the cybersecurity wraparound that she's put on it. But this really is an important topic, and I know she loves it. Chaz is going to help be our moderator today. Feel free to chat with us, and she will bring questions up as I work through this flow. And we will have this time it's not a poll, it's actually a cybersecurity score card to help you guys figure out where you are on your cybersecurity efficiency for yourself. We love doing these educational events, and anybody who watches this, I'd really love to hear what topic you want to know more about if we're not covering it yet. So let's get started. So today, again, we're going to talk about how to create a personal cybersecurity system that will keep you and your family safe. When I first worked through, and this is a webinar that we as a firm pay for because I can't know everything. Please don't tell my children or my husband. But this is a topic that was defined and created by a group called the Horse's Mouth. When I worked through these items, it was very surprising things that I didn't even know I should do. So I hope this is going to be helpful to you. I will promise you one thing, as always, by the end of this presentation, I will leave you better off than you showed up, because this stuff is really important and actionable. Okay, so let's do this. Chaz, if you will launch. Before you do this, let me explain. I'm having a little bit of lag. There you go. So Chaz is going to launch a poll, okay? And generally we do a really quick poll that helps us figure out if we're on track. This poll is a little different, and I automated it because I didn't know any other way to do it. So what I want you to do is take the poll, take the quiz, and for every question you answer yes, you're going to give yourself 5 points. So if you'll take a couple minutes and do that, that would be magic. And I realize that you can't see. Chaz, is my camera pointed the right way?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And we've got folks answering, Kyle, so I'm just gonna give it another.
This is a long one, Chaz. Thank you. Normally it's like 3 or 4 questions, but this one's 10.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give it a few minutes.
And they're impactful. They really are impactful. And then Chaz, we're still getting better at this. There's a way for you to share the results after. Is that accurate?
Yes, I will be able to share the results.
And it's anonymous too, right? I believe it is. I think it just tells people how many answers you said.
The percentages, yeah, I don't think it gives people specific answers. Because even now, as it's being answered, I don't see who's answering what.
Right.
Okay, Got
Right.
really good participation, so I'm gonna
Dang.
end it there. If I cut anyone off on the last couple, I'm so sorry.
Nice. Look at that two-factor authentication. That is wonderful. And by the way, at the end of this webinar, you're gonna get a cheat sheet that's gonna help you with these things, okay? Because we're gonna talk about a lot of stuff. And if you get to the end of this and you get the survey or the cheat sheet, you don't know what to do about it, call me, okay? So look, they've got really great participation in, wow. Individual emails are just dedicated to banking. I did not know that until I read the detail on this webinar. That's awesome. Look at that. That's fantastic. All right. I will tell you on question 7, I signed my kids up for LifeLock this morning when I reread this. Oh, this is great. Thank you guys so much for this. This is super helpful. All right, so let's get through this. All right, so we're gonna share some rules to help you with, okay? So learning new cybersecurity rules. And it really does start with a mindset. So I believe you can develop 3 cybersecurity mindsets to strengthen and maintain your cybersecurity, so that staying safe is a simple thing. The 3 mindsets are, they cover various parts of your life and they overlap. I love Venn diagrams. But we're going to talk about secrecy, omniscience, and mindfulness. Each mindset contains a group of actions for people to take care, and they're called new cybersecurity rules. I'm going to cover these and explain all 3. Here we go. All right, so idea 1, adopting a new level of secrecy can boost your security and cyber confidence. So the secrecy mindset entails keeping your personal and private data private. Shocker. With all the massive amounts of data breaches that big companies and governments are facing, I think it's important for us to kind of treat ourselves the same way, because it's very likely that our data is already out there. So it's all going to start with your email, because there's a rule that says if you own the email, you own the person. And the email address, your email address is a key to your digital lives. This was a biggie for me because I didn't even consider having a separate email just for my Citi card or my Amex or my Schwab account. So what we do when we send our emails out to people, that's something that, you know, when they respond, they know where to start. And I know when I shop at Amazon or I book a trip for Liam to go to Colorado, I'm using a very generic email. We really don't really think about it other ways. So having said that, there are so many databases out there that we can't control. Having an email just for your bank accounts is critical. And Chaz, you'll let me know if there are any questions, right?
I will, yes.
So a separate email just for your finances is what we're talking about. Everything else can be on your regular everyday. So having a special one set up that you know about and you don't share with anybody but your banks, your credit reporting, your loans, your credit cards, your mortgage company, that's what we're talking about. All right, and this is a biggie. Passwords are adorable. I think the first time we started talking about this, the data we had was the most prevalent password was password 1234. Just so you know, that's probably not secure. So having a system to build a strong password is important. And then you got to remember them, right? So it's a joke inside the office for me. That's my password. So we use a password manager, a vault. But then I looked at this and said mnemonics. So Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. J ampersand J W, that carrot up, that like that is so cool. And if I have a saying that I like and I know what I use generally to create the Jack is the and signed, that's a super safe password. Another idea that was shared with us was, okay, so rewind. Sometimes people have to refresh their passwords every 6 months. And so the folks that I spoke to, one of them was a runner, and their goal for the next 6 months was run every day. And so you could see run every day. The 3's are the E's and the at sign is the A. That's beautiful. There's this other wacky thing that was shared with us, called the die rule, the die method. And what they do is they have two dice and they roll it, 5 times, and whatever those numbers come up with, and they do that system 5 times. And that creates a very random list of numbers, right? You still have to write that thing down. So we have a system in our offices. We use what's called LastPass, and it's super secure. And in our offices, I can share access to a system, but not necessarily my password. So I can allow some of our software only allows one user. So I will allow Chaz to log in when I'm not logged in, but she doesn't know my password. And so the LastPass website that we use will allow me to share access, but not my password. And that's a really good method for your kids. A spouse. I'm the password vault keeper for my mom and dad. So these are just really neat ways to make sure if you have a password, how do you remember it? Details, right? So the next thing is two-factor authentication or two-step verification for emails, your Facebook, your Amazon, and it requires an additional code. So you may have a very secure password, and I know I'm doing this a lot more. Maybe you guys are too, but when you log into your Amazon or your email, it now is asking me for a code that's sent right to my cell phone, which I love and hate, by the way, because if I don't have my cell phone on me, I have to run upstairs and get it. But it's definitely an extra layer. And it is a relatively new trend on cybersecurity, online security, this two-factor, or also called two-step verification. I highly recommend you use it with everything. With your Schwab accounts, we're seeing this a lot, and it's awesome because if you're in our offices and we are logging into you might be logging into your Schwab account with us there. I can't use your password without your cell phone and you can't, unless you have your kid with your cell phone, your kid can't get in either. So it's super safe. The other thing that we are seeing a lot of are these authentication apps on your digital devices. So I might not be able to get a text from my phone if I've left my phone home, which happens. But if I have an authentication application like the Microsoft Authenticator, LastPass, or Google, my authentication app is on my laptop, my tablet, and it helps me with that next layer of security. And also there's a way for you, So I guess what it means is you don't have to worry about entering a code every time if you have what's called a safe device, like my home office. I might have renew in 30 days, so you don't have to do the two-factor authentication. So if it's in your house, it's like a trusted device. So we're gonna talk a little bit about Wi-Fi. And I don't know about you guys, but I use Spectrum. Some of you might use Roadrunner. But locking down your Wi-Fi is very, very important, because if you are in a neighborhood, and I never thought about this, if you're in the neighborhood with people that are close to your house, like maybe your houses are close. I know when I pull up my networks, I've got my neighbors, Hardwood Hill Network, and I'm Karma Sauce Network, but they can see me too. And so we want to make sure that those connections are safe. Then when you look at the public, sorry, I'm going back and forth. I've got two slides in front of me. So the public Wi-Fi, when you're at the airport or you're sitting waiting for, you know, your doctor's appointment, that Wi-Fi may not be locked down. I use my cell phone and I create a hotspot from my cell phone, and that is secure. Okay. There's also an option that you can use, like if you have Verizon, to get a hotspot that creates a VPN, which is a virtual private network, and that's super, super secure. And I did put the the carriage before the horse. Your wireless network also needs to be locked down. This is where it gets, if you're not technical, what I did for our home was I called Spectrum and technical support, and they helped me change my Wi-Fi password, because on the back of my router, it's got a, you know, a silly little name with some numbers on it, which is what that Wi-Fi router came with. Anybody can find that. So I asked them to help me change it. And some of this stuff is super technical because you're dealing with IP addresses. So I highly recommend, if you want to encrypt your Wi-Fi network at home, you call your internet, your Spectrum, or your Rochester or your Roadrunner to help them change things like disabling your Wi-Fi protected setup, because that feature allows others to quickly connect to your network, and it's got a simple, short password that can be hacked easily. The other thing is your firmware. This is something I didn't ever think about. That router, I don't know, and I've actually got a tech support call on this right now. I don't know how frequently the router firmware, which is software in the router, is updated. The majority of routers come with outdated software, which leaves the network vulnerable. By updating that firmware, you're going to help update possible loopholes, security loopholes in that router. Take these things very, very much for granted. Chaz, are there any questions so far? Anybody, do you have questions? I know this is technical.
Sally Fox asked, are Android phones smart enough? Which is a great question.
Once again, Sally Fox is going to get $5 for a good question. Sally, we are going to get there, and the question there is important because we have to stay vigilant with all of our devices now, not just our computers, but our handhelds. Okay. So rule 2, key idea 2 is making certain actions can help you, completing certain actions to help you achieve your financial cyber omniscience and word fraud. Okay, I did not write that slide, by the way. Sorry, guys. What we're trying to do is lock things down. And look, we're going to talk about online for our computers. So achieving that omniscience. And what I mean by that is financial omniscience, meaning all knowingness, will put you the center of your financial life. These are things that scare people the most. which should, we should be worried about this. There was an instance where, this woman named Leslie, it was like Black Friday and like lots of people, she was shopping at Target and nabbed, first of all, I think anybody that goes out on Black Friday is a wackadoo, right, Chaz? But anyhow, Leslie went to Target and got some really good deals. And a couple of days later, maybe a week later, there was some news that Target had a huge data breach. A few days before Christmas, her bank told her she was overdrawn by $100. And what she learned was somebody had scraped her debit card and had been making a handful of different charges that she didn't know about, and that tallied up to about $1,000. Her card was now useless. Her checking account had to be completely changed over. And it took a couple weeks to get everything tidied up, which obviously ruined her Christmas. She ended up having to borrow money to pay for her rent the next month. That's how bad it was. However, this is the reason I'm saying this. I know it's doom and gloom, but the security that you have on your credit card is different than the security you have on your ATM card. If you've got $1,000 in your bank account, and somebody hacks your ATM card, that money's gone. But if somebody hacks your credit card, part of the reasons why we pay fees on these credit cards is we have security there and insurance. So I always recommend that people never use their ATM cards online ever. And if you're going to use it for cash, you go to your bank's ATM. Okay. And then the other thing you need to do is, on top of that, set up alerts on your bank account and your credit card companies so that you will get a text every time. I know this is a pain, but every time you make a withdrawal, anytime that debit card is used, or anytime there's a charge on your account. I have a credit card set up on my kid's Apple Pay, and I get an alert saying your card may not have been present during this transaction, which first of all lets me know what Liam's spending on Amazon. And second of all, it lets me know, is that something that we really did? All right. So biggie, freezing your credit score. And Sally, we will get to your question. It's in the deck here, I'll promise you. So freezing your credit and protecting your children, if you have small children or even your grandchildren, is super important. By default, so there are these things called credit bureaus: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And they help us by giving creditors permission to look at our credit rating so we can get a mortgage or a new car or a new credit card. And by default, these credit files are open. That means anybody with enough information to impersonate you will be able to open a new credit card in your name. And it happens all the time. I'm sure you've heard of it. If it hasn't happened to you yet, it's a major source of identity theft. And when you consider how many private and public organizations have been hacked, I don't know if you guys remember this, but probably about 2009, 2010, Excelis Blue Cross Blue Shield let us know that Grace and Liam, our children's social security information and their private information had been hacked because Excelis was hacked. So it happens frequently. So what can you do about it? Well, I use LifeLock, okay? I use LifeLock because it allows me to see all three of my credit scores across Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And it also allows me to freeze my credit. What that means is no one can get a credit card or a mortgage without that being unfrozen. So I have to apply for a loan for Liam's credit every semester, sorry, his tuition for every semester. And I have to go into this system and unfreeze it, and I unfreeze it for 3 hours. And once I submit my application and it goes through, I freeze it. It is so simple. So if in before 2018, it used to cost you $10 per freeze and unfreeze. But there was a federal law passed in 2018 that now makes it free in every state, okay? So yes, LifeLock cost me $29 a month for me to be able to look at everything, but I can go in, see Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, anything that's going on, what my credit rating is, and then I can open up my, turn off my freeze and then turn it on. The thing that worried me the most was this one. I read a report that said 500,000 children suffer from identity theft every year. And why is that? Because their records are clean. And parents don't even think about keeping an eye on their kids' records. But the childhood identity theft can lead to a lifetime of fraud and ruined credit. So the first thing to do is, even if you've got adult children, like I pay an extra $12 per kid a month so that they can't, not because they're older than 18 now, but they can freeze theirs also. So we have, if you have grandchildren or folks that have young children who have had their identity theft happen, we have a process to help you reach out to the credit agencies to fix this. I'm a little anxious about this because, you know, we've got 2 older children, but they are still children. Okay, key idea number 3. Mindfulness is so important. And by doing this regularly, I have a process every month. As I pay the credit card bills, I'm also looking at my credit score every month. It's just part of my routine. I download my statement from my credit cards. I write it down and write idea. Like if I see a transaction that's weird, I go in and I document it, and then I follow up that day. Typically is on the 5th or the 6th of the month. But that's my mindfulness behavior, okay? And the reason mindfulness is so important is it allows you to stay alert without being fatigued, because this can be super overwhelming and scary. So what does this type of thing mean? What does mindfulness mean? If we need to be in this thing called a state of relaxed alertness, like it's just part of our everyday DNA. There are fighter pilots that have this acronym for the state called OODA, and that stands for observation, orientation, decision, and action. And that's why Zen masters use this phrase mindfulness, because you're thinking about those things. When Google completed their own analysis of worldwide cybersecurity practices, they also recommended mindfulness. It's just in your day-to-day behaviors. Okay, so this is a biggie, and this is something that I see it at my mom's house, I see it at clients' houses. You know, if you're using a Microsoft platform laptop, on the bottom left-hand corner where the timestamp is, sometimes you're going to get this little circle with arrows point, like in a circular manner, arrows pointing in a circular manner, like around and around. And that means you've got an update waiting for you. 9 out of 10 security experts say running updated software is necessary for strong security. Out-of-date software allows hackers to plant viruses and malicious software on your devices. A lot of people do not like to update their Microsoft or whatever because they don't know what it's going to change. Oh, let me tell you, if there are bug fixes, holes in your platform, and you don't update it, you're in trouble. 40%, ready? 40% of computer users don't update their software in a timely fashion. Experts say 70 to 80% of computer hacks are related to outdated software because the hackers exploit those security holes. So you want to make sure, so you want to make sure that your software and program is updated. And this, Sally, includes your cell phone, okay? You want to look at your operating system, your browsers, if you're using Chrome or Bing or Firefox or Safari, your Microsoft Office, your Adobe programs, your iTunes, okay? Many programs allow you to enable auto updates. I highly recommend you should enable this on all your programs because it's a good place to make sure that that one layer of security is updated. And it's also a very good idea to install a good antivirus program on your computers. That means that it's running, that antivirus software is running in the background to make sure that if there's some type of gap in your security layer, it will periodically go through and look at things and say, oh, there might be a problem here. Also, it's a good idea to uninstall, periodically look at the programs that are on your device. And if you haven't used it in 6 months, get rid of it, uninstall it. Because the fewer programs you have, the fewer holes there are to attack. Oh my God, are you overwhelmed yet? It's a lot, but this is going to be, we're going to share with you the replay on this so you can watch it again. So
Cal,
go ahead.
get a comment. I've been told that McAfee isn't needed.
Who said that?
Sally.
So it depends. Okay, so it depends because your computer may have another one in there, Sally. So our firm uses Microsoft, and Microsoft has in our bundle a standard firewall
Defender.
antivirus called Defender. Okay, so I don't know why they said that. McAfee is certainly a very good antivirus. It does come standard on a lot of computers. If somebody's telling you that you don't need McAfee, it may be because you already have something else. I know that McAfee always tells me it's time for me to renew. And all I do is click OK. And then it goes away. But so this is a very, very good question. It's better to know and better to ask. So whoever is helping you with your technology, to ask them if McAfee's isn't needed, what do I have to cover me? Okay. One type of malware I mentioned on a previous slide kidnaps your computer and holds it for ransom. That's called ransomware. It's one of the biggest threats today. I don't know if you've heard some of these hospitals. Can you imagine being in a hospital, having the hospital's systems hacked, and the hospital can't get to your digital records? I can proudly say that Lindley and Company works with a very old and dear friend of mine, Reg Harnish, and he had a company called Gray Castle. And for those of you, and I'm looking at our attendees, we're all from upstate New York, but you may remember there was a very large hospital in Buffalo that was hacked probably about 7-8 years ago. And Reg's firm helped fix that problem, but it was brutal. It was brutal. Lindley and Company uses his new company, which is for little teeny tiny companies, called Orbital Fire. And that's why we joke about everything's Becky's fault, because she's locked everything down. We're super secure. It's very hard being a chief compliance officer, especially if your partner's Kelly Olczak. But the thing that Reg has helped us with is this ransomware stuff. We want to make sure that our systems are super safe. So if we're asking you to do it, we better be doing it too. But ransomware allows the hackers to infect your devices and then take them over. And then you can't access your systems at all. I had something pop up on my computer the other day, and it said, do not turn your computer. I turned my computer off. That's bullshit, by the way, and that's a technical term. I got this big thing, whoop, whoop. Do not turn off your computer. You have been locked out. And I just restarted the stupid thing, came right back. So trust but verify. So in order to avoid paying ransom to cyber crooks, you need to do the following, these 3 rules, meaning you need to back up all your files in 3 different places, right? The first place is your computer or your device, back it up on your computer or your cell phone, all right, Sally, or your tablet. Then have a physical backup device. They look like little bricks, and they're actually external hard drives. You plug it into your computer and you run the backup to the physical device that goes in your fire safe. Okay. And then the third place is your cloud. It could be a Dropbox folder. It could be iCloud. It could be Google Drive. It could be OneDrive, but the cloud is internet connected server that syncs with your device. Now, why is that important? My son, who I absolutely adore, spilled his coffee on his brand new laptop and fried it. So all of his homework for his mechanical engineering project was gone. So need I say more? Questions? Any questions?
We are good right now.
Okay. So let's talk about this rule, 10-second email rule. Part 1, examine the message. So ransomware attacks normally spread through a method called phishing. Phishing, not Fishing. These phishing messages are emails that impersonate a legitimate company or a person and are designed to steal your personal information and install malware on your machine through a malicious link. Hackers are sending out 94 billion think about that, 94 billion messages a day. Most of these are caught by a spam filter, but sometimes they get through to your inbox, okay? So what we're going to share is a story and then how to start looking at these things carefully. So we're going to talk about a story that came straight out of the White House. The wife of John P. Holdren, who was assistant to former President Obama and former director of the White House Office of Science and Technology. So this is his wife. She received an email, which she believed to be from her husband. It asked for a password to their Xfinity phone and internet account. And of course, she sent it to him and went along on her day. But she didn't send it to her husband, of course. She sent it to a political hacking group who then used the password, directed all of his phone calls to the Free Palestine movement line. The Holdrens joined a long list of victims, including, ready, this is terrifying, CIA Director John Brennan, Director of National Intelligence James Clapper. So if Mrs. Holdren had followed these rules, she probably would have gotten scammed. Okay, so here we go. There's an acronym we like to use to fend off phishers. EMAIL, shocking email. Examine, message, and inspect links. So let's take this one step at a time. The first thing you're going to do is examine message. Start with the subject line. So phishers try to get you to react quickly to an urgent situation. Like my hairdresser in 2010 got an email from the IRS saying that she was about to be arrested. The cops were going to be at her house in 45 minutes because she hadn't filed her taxes. And this is a very sensible woman. She's educated. She's got educated children, but it scared her so much because it looked real. Okay. Often they will make the subject line something so terrifying, like you're about to be arrested. Warning, account closed, security alert. We see that frequently in our office, and Some of them look like they come from our Microsoft platform. So everybody needs to just slow down. So some are more subtle. For example, email delivery failed, return message to sender or incoming fax received. Subjects like this should be a big alert that this really is a phishing attack. The next thing we need to do is discover the true sender of the email. So phishers can spoof or fake the from line, who it's coming from, to appear like it's a legitimate business or organization. You can determine the true sender by taking your mouse and hovering over the email, and that will display the name. A small box will appear, and then you'll see the true email, okay? For instance, we saw one from Citibank, okay? Well, somebody's email had been hacked, and the sender was John Smith at, Cisco.com. But it said that it was a Citigroup, Citicard email problem. Nah, baloney, okay? Just doing those two little things right away will help a ton. Other suspicious things to look for include greetings that refer to you as customer, sir, or madam, instead of your name. Oh, here's the other one. I am a prince of, fill in the blank country. Poor grammar, vague signature line with false contact information. So again, it goes to trust but verify. You should be suspicious of unsolicited emails with attachments. Never, ever, ever click to open an unsolicited attachment. What presents itself as a resume is probably a virus. And that's how the ransomware gets on your computer. Okay. Second part of the 10-second email rule has to do with the link in the message. Another story. British journalist Jane Corbin was less than an hour away from an important deadline for a documentary that she was working on. Doing multiple things at once, she suddenly spotted an email from Yahoo. It told her to confirm her account details immediately or her account would be shut down. Under pressure and needing information, documents in her email, she clicked on the link and filled in personal information. Immediately, her screen went blank. She'd been phished. They then targeted all of her email contacts. 1,000 people in her address book received the same email, saying that she had been robbed at a hotel in Spain and needed money. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that really happened. She was locked out of her computer and was forced to close her bank accounts. Not good. The second half of, and before I go here, I will also tell you that I am seeing in my inbox that our business Facebook page has images that are breaking rules of some kind. Those are baloney also. So don't believe anything you hear on those things. The second half of email, email, requires you to inspect the link within the messages that, like you did with the sender, hover your mouse over the link, and it's going to pop up a little hypertext that's going to tell you where that link takes you to. Ready? I didn't write this. If it looks fishy, PHISHY, delete it. Do not forward it, just dump it. So these are really super simple things that you can do to make sure that phishing doesn't happen to you. Okay, so wow, I'm gonna get all this done in an hour. So how do we take action? When you took your little quiz at the beginning, you probably saw things that you had gap in. I know I did. And so what our action items are is to take a look at the, 1 or 2 or 3 in that survey that you answered that worries you, and start working on them today. Like this morning, I added Grace and Liam to Jean and my life block to make sure that their ID can be frozen, and also to see if they've ever been, if they have a bad credit rating, because I know they don't have any credit that we've signed up for. Research does show that we are more likely to do something if you write it down. So what I would do is, so generally speaking, this webinar is a seminar in person and you get handouts. So I would recommend you write down 1, 2, or 3 action items that you can address right away. And, you know, make a commitment to yourself to make yourself more still and more safe. A lot of the information that we got from this webinar is from this book, Hack Proof Your Life Now. If any of you guys want to sit down and talk a little bit about how your Schwab accounts are secure, how your financial planning portal is secure, how your Dropbox is secure with us, we have worked really, really hard since the beginning, since we left Edward Jones in 2016. It's just getting more and more and more critical to over communicate these things. And I will tell you, this is the very first time we've done this webinar. And I have no doubt we're going to do it every year because of what's new. So that is the material that I have for you guys today. You will get a survey after we drop off. If any feedback that you can give us would be great. If there are topics you would like us to cover, please let us know. You're also going to get a cybersecurity quick reference guide and a checklist for keeping your kids and grandkids safe. If there's gap that you feel that we need to fill, I would love to know about it. We always want to make sure that we're educating our clients, and this is certainly a big one. Any questions before we end today?
No new one.
We're good?
But if anyone thinks of anything after we hang up, 5 minutes from now, 5 days from now, just send me an email and we'll get an appointment on the calendar so you and Kelly and I can chat about it.
Awesome. Thank you guys, and all of you that are on the website, on the workshop, our clients. I know we all are infinitely grateful that you allow us to help you with this. And other things, we know that you have many choices out in the world to find advisors. We're very grateful that you're our clients. And tomorrow it won't be 60 degrees, so we'll be happier.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye now.